where it's certainly nice to begin this show with some good news during these extraordinarily difficult times. Joining us right now from his home is the Dodgers president and CEO, Stan Kasten, to talk about some of this good news. And Stan, we know that baseball is going to be back at some point, and it's certainly going to help a lot of people across this country heal a little bit. But here locally, so many more Dodger fans will now be able to see the Dodger games right here on Sportsnet LA. I wanted to get your initial reaction and how you're feeling now that a deal is in place with AT&T and DirecTV.
Wow, I feel great. This has been so long coming, and so many people worked on this literally all the time for the last 6 years to make this happen. It's so important for so many of our fans who, as you know, are the most supportive and loyal fans anywhere in baseball. I do feel bad, though, for one thing. Imagine you've waited 6 years to watch SNLA. You've heard about it. You've read about it. You know how great it is. You turn it on, and all you see is me. Believe me, people, there are many better things on the network. The pregame, the postgame, the behind-the-scenes things, and, of course, the games themselves. You're going to really enjoy what so many of us already know, that SNLA is so really, really good.
And Stan, you know this. You don't need me to tell you this, but a lot of Dodger fans were certainly frustrated over the last several years. You were frustrated, the organization as a whole, Charter Communications, all of us here at Sportsnet LA. So in your mind, how ultimately did a deal finally get done?
Well, listen, a lot has happened along the way. There were 3 mergers, 2 of them failed. There was a federal investigation against one of the other carriers. There were a lot of things that intervened that held things up. But at the end of the day, there were 2 companies that finally had a way to work with each other to give and get on both sides of the equation that probably hadn't existed before this most recent acquisition. And so it just finally made too much sense for them to both reach a deal. And I couldn't be happier that they did.
And we know that last Thursday would have been opening day, so we missed out on having opening day at Dodger Stadium on a beautiful late March afternoon. When we do have opening day, whenever that is, Stan, is it going to look like a regular opening day in your mind with the same pomp and circumstance and all the pageantry, or might we be looking at a situation where we don't have fans in the stands for the opener?
You know, that's hard to say. And I have been advised, as we all have been advised, to not speculate. We just don't know yet. We are going to have another call this week with LA County Public Health. They've been really good about advising us on the best ways to go. And I know they have considered having games without fans as one possibility. They've considered having games in neutral sites, and they've considered just opening it up. So I don't know. I don't want to speculate. It seems reasonable to me that there might be some slight transition period before we just let everyone in, but maybe not, John. So yeah, everything is on the table. I will tell you this. Any way we can get going, and the players and the clubs are aligned in feeling this way. Any way we can get going, we are ready to do it under whatever circumstances people give us. That's how much both sides want to play ball, and that's how much we want to give it to the fans just as soon as we can.
And we heard last week, Stan, where Commissioner Rob Manfred was talking about how he might and they might have to get creative with the schedule for the regular season, but he also mentioned getting creative with the postseason, how it might not look like we're used to. In your mind, what do you think October or November baseball could look like?
Well, you know, I always say that what we build ourselves for is try to win that last game in October. But, you know, this year, last game in October may be regular season. So I don't know what it might mean. I know everything is on the table. I know there are different formats that people are considering. There's certainly different schedules going into November that are being considered. And frankly, there have been some wild ideas thrown around out there. It's just early, and we're all kind of shut in, letting our brains run wild. That's never a good thing. And so we're seeing some true, and by the way, there's this thing called the internet, where if we had run out of ideas, they've been presenting, and we've all seen the crazy ideas. And they're not all crazy. Some of them are creative and pretty interesting. Sure, we're going to try to be as normal as we can be, but it seems to me that this year, with the compressed schedule, with all the restrictions that we might yet face in allowing people into our ballpark, we may have to have something, let's call it creative, but it might look different. We just don't know yet.
Yeah, well, speaking of people coming into the ballpark, I think that's one of the many, many great reasons why people were excited about this 2020 season for the Dodgers, and they are excited. Stan, is the renovation project that's going on at Dodger Stadium that started shortly after the playoffs ended last year. Has the pandemic had any effects at all on the people out there being able to get their work done?
Hasn't had any impact on the people working. We have, once we knew that games weren't going to be starting on time, we definitely slowed down. We spread the crews out. We're working on Sundays and things like that with smaller crews. So we took the time that we had. We could have played the games and gotten all the field-facing activities ready for opening day. We were on schedule to do that. But we have now slowed down. I do think we will have everything done by the time we finally do play. And let me tell you, it's just a wow, John. Being there the few times I've been there to check on things, it's going to be even better than we thought. You know, what we do in our business is bring people together. We are a gathering place for 50,000 people. But now we're going to have even more gathering places, more intimate spaces between bars and areas for them to look at history and for kids to play and video stuff. It's just going to be the coolest thing imaginable. So when we do open, John, we're going to have a great team with a chance to win a World Series. We're going to have a great, great, exciting stadium, newly renovated in a way that it hasn't been in 60-some years. And we're going to be viewable by almost all of our fans in Los Angeles. So I have never been more hopeful and more eager to get a season started than this one. And no matter how late it is, and no matter how long we have to wait, that'll be fine. Just let's get going.
Almost from day one, Stan, I remember you talking about wanting to get the All-Star game to come back to Dodger Stadium for that first time since 1980, and the renovation project is part of that as well. You want to show it off when the All-Star game comes here. Have you had the communication yet with Major League Baseball? I imagine you have, about all of the what-if scenarios if the season doesn't get underway until after the All-Star game. Could you open the season perhaps with the All-Star game, or what if perhaps we don't see the All-Star game at all this year?
Well, first of all, the reason I talked about it on the first day that we were here, the first day that we took over the team, May 2nd, 2012, was because I was asked about it by fans on that very first day. This is a big thing for LA. I don't know how it got to be 40 years without a game in LA, which is the media and entertainment capital of the world. But here we are. We're very excited to have the game. And right now, it is still scheduled. I don't know how much longer or how delayed the start can be before they have to make a decision about that. So could they alter the game? It's possible. Could they alter the events around it? It's possible. Could they start the second half with a different kind of game? All of those things are possible. Again, I've been warned not to speculate because until we know when we're going to get started, we can't really answer any of the other questions. So you're right to ask. It very much is a question at this point about whether we're going to have it this year, whether there's any All-Star game at all this year. We just don't know. Yeah. We certainly hope so. We're keeping our hopes alive. We'll just have to play it out a little while longer before we do know.
All right, last thing for you, Stan. I know you're a guy who loves to work. After all, you ran 3 professional franchises at one time in Atlanta. You're running the Braves, the Hawks, and the Thrashers at the time in the NHL. So how does Stan Kasten handle this stay-at-home order, and how are you self and social distancing while you're at home? How are you handling this?
Well, you know, just like everyone else, I'm on Zoom calls and conference calls and texts and emails. I'm keeping up with meme traffic, and I'm working on my my TikTok dance routine. So, you know, the same things everybody else does.
Well, we got to get some video of that at some point of Stan Kasten. We've already seen Dave Roberts doing it, so that would be must-see television. Stan Kasten, thank you so much for taking the time and to talk about the great news here today on Sportsnet LA.
Thanks very much, John. Good to be here.
With the Dodgers, all he has done since then, 6 incredible years, batting over 300, 112 home runs, one of the great clutch hitters in the month of October, and he joins us now from his home in the San Fernando Valley. And JT, I want to begin with, from a player's standpoint and a player's vantage point, what it's like to hear the news that you guys will have all of your games now right here on Sportsnet LA for so many people to watch on AT&T and DirecTV.
Yeah, it's huge. Obviously, very exciting time. I think I can speak for a lot of people who will say this is maybe long overdue. But just to be able to, you know, be on people's TVs and everyone's home and show up for our whole fan base and give them an opportunity to watch us play, I think is important because, you know, we do lead the league in attendance every year, like 4 million fans and whatnot, but, you know, we don't get to play in front of all of our fans. They don't get to watch us every night like, you know, I got to when I was a kid growing up. So definitely a huge step and a little ironic that, you know, this deal's going through today and we don't have any baseball that we can play right now, but definitely good for everyone involved.
In